hello to the good people and to the bad. Bad people need love too.
When it comes to positivity, we all need it.
Write about people whose names are familiar to us now, like Isaiah Thomas.
Those things always work when it comes to putting out your best self.
God has blessed you with a beautiful voice, Chris. Thank you very much for doing this.
Good afternoon to the good people and good afternoon to the bad people, friends and enemies. And good afternoon, boom, shakalaka to all of you out there. I am Chris Bass. Welcome back to a wonderful edition of CBI-Chris Bass Interviews. We congregate and do this every Wednesday. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We want you to be well where you are. Well, I must say off the front, I've known this gentleman for a long time. And when I look back when I first met him when we were teenagers, I was going to Kenwood. He was going to our rival school, Whitney Young. And it's funny because, you know, all these school rivalries, stuff like that. You know, I didn't see it too much of a rivalry. I just like good people. It didn't matter. You have friendly banter back and forth. I knew some people take a little bit too seriously and then go back to hell. I think that when you put so much energy into alma mater to some degree, you might be having a couple of screws loose. That's just me. But this gentleman has been salt of the earth since I've known him, a man of many hats, a man of many talents. And again, as I gave you the promo there, is arcane knowledge. A prince must be shared. And not only that, he's just a great guy. Please welcome to CBI my friend and great brother, Charles Smoot, as I get him up here and do the magic. There we go. How you doing, Chuck Smoot?
My brother, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm great, man. Good to see you. How's everything going in your world?
Everything is great. Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate this, and I've been looking forward to it. Thank you for your kind words. And yeah, we go back like an 8-track.
Exactly. Now, help me out with this. So I remember so we connected after years ago. So of course, our good friend Diane Hawkins,
right?
And Diane is also the godmother to my children. In fact, speaking of which, you asking she shall receive. Here she is right now.
There she is.
How you doing it? and I met you through her.
Right.
And
right.
I believe once again, just great people. There's not too many people. I said this when we were in the pregame, that not too many people I know from high school on can be the same person. Everybody, of course, has different versions of themselves. They grow up, they become hopefully better, and they come into their own, and they learn their mistakes in life, and sometimes keep on going. But you and my good friend Ken Smith, who I've known from Kenwood for years, we also went in the radio, became Al Roker Jr. on the Man Cow Show for years, talented brother, since 13 to now, and with you when I met you through now, same person. So I commend you for that, and that's just a testimony to your character.
I appreciate that. It's one of the things my father instilled in me is that, the importance of authenticity. He always taught me to be myself because I'm the only person that I could be, and so I appreciate that. Going back to the days when we first met, that was, back when I was in school, when we were in high school, I wanted to go into journalism. And I was always jealous of your voice. I always was just like, I want to have a voice like that, so I can be on TV with that great voice. And it's, but it has been a pleasure to watch you over the years and do all the things that you've done, and and run into you in unexpected moments. Like that one time I was on we were on Art Sims show, and I heard your voice.
Right ahead, yes.
I heard your voice and sent Art a text. Was like, "Is that Chris up there?" And he was like, "Ah, ha, ha, ha!" Like I wanted to surprise you. So that I always remember that. That was a great, that was a great moment. That was a great evening. So
it was, and it was a nice surprise to see. I haven't seen you in years.
You're right.
And this was once again Art Sims show on WVON. That's when the station was over on 87th Street.
Right. Yeah. It was on 87th.
Man, I saw you. We embraced, and I don't know, I damn near cried because again, it's great being around good people and
Right, exactly.
that energy and that aura
Yeah,
that you have. I was like, man, I miss that. I miss
yeah,
hanging out with you,
absolutely.
everything like that. So it was like, I'll just say this up front. It was like seeing my long lost brother. That's how I felt.
I totally feel the same way because I think right after I left that day, speaking of Diane, I got on the phone and text her. I was like, "You'll never believe who I ran into," So and so it was great. But we all when you talk about the Whitney Young Kenwood thing, yeah, it's a rivalry, but it's a friendly rivalry
Yes, it is.
because at the end of the day, we're all in the same tribe. We're all the same people.
That's right.
So it's all it's just fun to talk smack about.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Let me go
Yeah.
back to the comment section. Also say hello to Barbara Jean. How you doing, Barbara Jean? Thank you for being here. Also catch my program on my YouTube channel, the Chris Base channel, all one word with a period at the end of the channel. She's on both. Also catch it on Facebook Live as I posted right there as well. So she's doing both. Not both,
All right.
both. So that's always a good thing.
Both.
Right. I remember one time real quick, and we'll get it in. I was watching Jerry Springer, just for chewing gum mind candy.
Right.
I'm checking it out, and this guy was on there with two ladies on each side of him. So Jerry said, "You know what? Now, Gus, you have a decision. You have a decision to make. Either you stay with your wife for 3 years, or be with your missus for 6 months." He was like, "Well, Jerry, I'll think about it. I want them both."
I want them both. I want them both.
And Jerry tried to correct. You mean you want them both? No. I want them both. But thank you for the comment about the voice, man, and everything else. It's just is mutual love back and forth. So let's get into it. So Charles Smoot, who are you? Where were you born and raised? And get into all that.
So born and raised here in Chicago. Educated here in Chicago. I said, went to Whitney Young, did a stint at Morehouse, left Morehouse, went to Columbia, got involved in a couple of fraternal organizations back then. Worked for a long time. Basically, was originally a business major, had my own company, a small business consulting company, and then went on to enter the ministry. Went on to get, I was a pastor for a while, got my master's degree in divinity. But all along through that, I've been a music lover, came out of the house music scene here in Chicago, and house music, Prince, and later, jazz would become three of my big musical passions. And that is just something I have followed, and music and their music has had a profound impact on me intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. And so it's just been something I've always carried with me.
Let's go back to your association. What fraternity do you represent?
So I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I currently have the distinction of serving as the district historian for the District of Illinois, along with being a co-regional historian for our Midwest region. And in 2016, I authored a book on the history of Alpha Phi Alpha in the state of Illinois. So just is another thing I kind of fell into as being an amateur historian. Some of my friends get at me when they're like, "No, you're not an amateur." I'm still an amateur. I'm not degreed in it, but another big passion for me is history. So I have enjoyed not only researching history on my fraternity, but what I've learned, it has also led me into learning about Black history and learning about the history of Blacks in Chicago and in our state. And we have such a rich history for people that, we were not taught about, neither you nor I'm guessing, when we were in school. And so much I've learned about people in Chicago, the George Cleveland Halls and the Julian Herman Lewis's, who's big philanthropists and doctors, and things about Providence Hospital and the DuSable Museum, like all these little things I've learned through that I was able to learn through my affiliation with my fraternity, but it kind of took a left turn because it just went into basic Black history, and so that's been another big passion of mine as well.
Did you pledge in Morehouse?
No, I left Morehouse because let's just say I had too much fun when I was at Morehouse.
Gotcha. Right. Too much partying,
yeah.
Too many escapades and things like that.
Exactly. So I came back to Chicago, enrolled in Columbia College, became a member through Theta chapter, which is the 8th oldest chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha, the oldest chapter in the state, and became a member of that chapter. And currently I hold membership in Xi Lambda chapter. I should say was just talking about this last night on a podcast that I host. My chapter was awarded International Chapter of the Year by Alpha Phi Alpha at our recent convention in Philadelphia. So it's been it's been a wonderful ride with that, and I've been able to use my fraternity contacts to continue to work in and with the community, and just see how we can try to make things a little better for everybody.
Not throwing shade on other fraternities, but why for you Alpha Phi Alpha?
So primarily, I have two cousins that are members of the fraternity, and they had a really big hand in raising me. One of them went to Allen University in South Carolina. The other one went to Northern Illinois here in DeKalb. And, they were my mentors. They were the men that I looked up to. When my parents divorced and my dad moved down south, they were the ones who stepped in. And one of my cousins went on to become the first Black vice president of HBO. And I knew he was an alpha, and I knew his brother was an alpha. And I wanted to grow up to be like them. And that was one of the ways to become like them, was to become an alpha. But it was also the fraternity that just spoke to me with the type of service that they did, the type of men that were involved, and the type of things that I watched the fraternity do, both when I was at Morehouse before and when I came back to Chicago. Full disclosure, my mother is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. So she kind of nudged me towards Alpha a little bit. And it was just one of those things that it wound up being a great fit. And, I got initiated in May of 1987. So that's 38 years ago. I always say that I pledged with 5 of the best men I've ever known in my life. One of them, I need to give a shout out real quick because
Sure, go right ahead.
One of my best friends, I had the pleasure of pledging with one of my best friends from Whitney Young. We went Whitney Young Morehouse. We pledged together. But yesterday, we welcomed his granddaughter.
Congratulations.
So Alasia was born yesterday, 7 pounds, 4 ounces.
Beautiful.
So we have a new family member, and so over the moon about that. So, congratulations to him, and congratulations to us for having that. But what I have found within the fraternity, I'm sure others could say this as well, but I have found a sense of family, a sense of community, and it has allowed me to work with others who are also, in other organizations and in other areas. But Alpha was just the best move for me.
Do you think, and you mentioned about 1987 getting into it in May, do you think that the movie Spike Lee's School Days had a lot to give the imprint? Because some people I know would watch the movie and then, they were influenced to go pledge. Now, I'm not saying you have the right, not right, or anything to pledge like that, but I think, don't get me wrong, some people have watched TV like A Different World or saw the movie and were inspired to go to college and pledge. I think nothing wrong with that, but I think at the same time, it's not just a movie and not just a TV show. And so did you see like a boom or people that you know or heard of that was doing that because of the movie and TV series?
Well, I think, so when you talk about School Days, full disclosure, if you remember the infamous Alpha Step show.
Yes.
And you remember the guys standing in the back holding up the signs.
Correct.
Had I stayed at Morehouse, I would have been one of them guys, because those are the guys I was in an interest group with, and those were all, they're a bunch of my friends and stuff that I knew from back then. What I think School Days and A Different World actually did that was more important than exposing Black Greek letter organizations, where they exposed the importance of HBCUs, of historically Black colleges and universities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shown a light on what these types of schools had to offer. Now, I come from a family, as I mentioned, one of my cousins went to Allen University, HBCU. My mom went to Fisk. And so I grew up around a bunch of Fiskites. My father went to Lemoyne-Owen in Memphis. So I grew up around HBCUs. So the thought of going to an HBCU like Morehouse was almost a no-brainer. But at a time when Black colleges were not given a lot of attention and a lot of credence, things like School Days and the Cosby Show, because I think some of it started with the Cosby Show. I always remember there was one episode when I was at Morehouse and Cosby wore a Morehouse sweatshirt in an episode. And this was probably in 1985. And the whole campus literally erupted. Like you could hear all the cheers and going on. And I understand same thing happened at Howard when they would wear Howard stuff or FAM.
Or Wilberforce.
Or Wilberforce, yeah, because they wore a lot of Wilberforce stuff too. And I think what that period of time was, not just exposing the larger community to the works of Black Greek letter organizations, but HBCUs, and how valuable of an experience being at an HBCU was. Even though I only attended Morehouse for 1 year, I counted as one of the most developmentally important periods in my life. So I always be grateful for that year I spent at Morehouse.
You mentioned the trilogy of your music being eclectic, and I totally love it. You talk about house music, Prince, and jazz.
Right.
Let's dissect one by one. So house music, again, I think is a form of religion. Because when you think about it, when the people gather, the music, the camaraderie, the love, there's a certain feel that house music has. And no offense again to other music, or musical stylings, but something about house music, ground support. You know where you are when you first heard it, when you first heard your first mix, and things of that nature. Hell, I remember listening to then WBMX 102.7 FM, the Hot Mix 5.
Right.
And
yes.
I was so enthralled with them, I would copy them and copy the cassette tape back in the day, and said it was my mix.
No.
And my dumbass did that to try to get girls to listen to me. And then I forgot about the drops. I was like, okay, busted. All right.
Right.
Won't do that shit again, right? So it was just, just the fact that I tried, but going back to the whole thing of house music, and I had the pleasure of knowing the great Lee Michaels, was the program director at WBMX, who put those mixes on the air every Friday night. Got the mixers, they're recruited, and then it became like its own thing. So everybody knows when you were touched by house music. Same for you. Well, what happened when you first heard it?
Well, it's funny because technically my house music origin stories are kind of similar to my Prince music origin stories. But so I think I first got exposed to the first house party I ever went to. I think I was about 12 years old. And it wasn't called a house party at that time. It was a punk out party.
Right.
And it was on the west side. And okay, yes, I'll just go here because I'm about to look at your face. So because I went with two people, my mother and this other woman. They worked together and became very close. And so I became close to the other woman's two sons. The oldest sons is someone that you may remember by the name of Wayne Fields.
Yes.
And so
Yes, Deacon Wayne Fields. Yes,
Wayne, so Wayne and Cy,
his brother.
his younger brother,
Hmm.
I was staying over. I forgot something was going on with my mom, and I was staying over at their house, and they were like, "Well, we're going to this party. You want to go?" I was like, "Okay, fine." And I remember it was on the west side. Like I said, I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I remember walking in, and it was a basement party, and just hearing it is like I almost immediately got, I was nervous because I was so young, so I
Hmm.
kind of stood over in the corner, but I was entranced and enthralled. I'm like, what is this? And I remember stuff being played. I mean, some Parliament Funkadelic being played, but I
Hmm.
also remember what I now know was a song, salsa orchestra, old disco stuff, because we're really talking the beginning of the 80s here.
Right.
And just after that party, I remember asking Cy, I was like, what is that? Where can I hear more of that? And he was like, well, just listen to the radio. That's was listening when WKKC
Hmm.
was starting to play a lot of mixes. So I was listening to that, and yeah, house music that, and I equate house music a lot of ways to jazz. I think the adherents of it are very similar because there's a similar. When you're a jazz lover, when you're a house music lover, it's not always just about the music. It's about the culture. It's about the vibe. It's about
Hmm.
what the music, how the music hits you. And I've long seen a relationship between the two. And obviously, elements of house music did come out of the jazz movement. Um, Obviously, what was just a salsa orchestra. You look at stuff that came out of RSO Records and Casablanca Records, and
Right.
a lot of that old disco musicianship. It's very much jazz influence.
Hmm.
But I think one thing about house music as a culture is it taught me to be tolerant, because you were, I've always said I've never met a homophobic househead. At least not that came up in the early days, because
Right.
there was a large contingency of the early house crew that came out of the disco area, and
Right.
a lot of those individuals were gay, and those became some great people. But
Absolutely.
the diversity between sexuality and races. We had a lot of Hispanic and Asians that would come out. If you went to
Hmm.
Medusa's, you would
Right.
see all colors, and it taught a lot about acceptance and tolerance of other people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have some of the attitudes towards some groups that I do now, is because of my early days in house music.
I only went to a couple of house parties in my teens, and I remember one place. Vicky, who I was dating, who became my wife, who I met
Hmm.
back at Kenwood, went to one party, and they separated the men and the women. So they had one woman line and a man line, and it
Hmm.
was $1.
Mm.
And I didn't. We
Okay.
didn't know until we got to the door. So this one lady that was standing next to Vic gave her $1. If I would have known, I would have gave her $1 and would have went on in. So she
Hmm.
was nice enough to give her $1. I paid the lady back, and it was cool. We got up in there, and once again the music thumping. It's dark. Got some lights going, enjoying ourselves, and then some some strobe lights. And I never forget this one guy. Of course, one of the things about house music, it's imperial for you to jack your body.
Yes,
You must do that.
exactly.
So
Yes, you
I saw
must.
this one guy jacking the speaker,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I didn't know it was a thing. Because again, I'm brand new. I mean, I'm new if I'm trying to get into the
Right.
culture. Anywhere you go to a house party, male, female, or whatever, somebody was jacking the
Back in the
speaker
speaker,
while it was
absolutely.
going on. Yes, absolutely.
Abs- I remember my first time going to CODs, and not CODs, first time going to the music box,
Hmm.
down on Lower Wacker, and just
Yes.
being amazed at the vibe and the lights, and seeing everybody, it was like, one thing with house music that at certain parties, it was, you mentioned the religious connection,
Hmm.
because it was very much like people getting into a sort of spiritual trance, that people just are vibing so hard off the music that
Yes.
all of a sudden it can almost be an otherworldly, out of body experience. And
Well, I agree 100%.
you know,
Yes.
I always say that the one reason, this is just for me only, but
Hmm.
one of the things that prevented me from doing harder drugs other than marijuana or alcohol was house music. Because I literally, when you talk about dancing, jacking a speaker, dancing on a speaker,
Hmm.
I would do that and I would literally get high. It was the same type of high that I would get from marijuana or from liquor. And
Right.
that was the feeling that I always wanted more of. And
Hmm.
I long say that probably prevented me from doing other drugs.
That's deep.
Um, because I could get that same high. And in some cases, depending on the DJ, but in some cases, a better high than those things. And I've always credited house music for that.
It's pure. It
It
is a
absolutely,
pure feeling, and it's
absolutely is.
euphoria. It's nirvana. You can't get more high. I totally
Exactly.
agree with your assessment. You can't get more high than that because everything else you have to do, you have to imbibe, you have to
Hmm.
take in.
Hmm.
But when you take this in, it's natural,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
want more of it. And so you're vibing like that, and the people
Hmm.
around you feel the exact same way. And so again, there's this. I've never heard, me personally, of a fight break out in a house party. I never
Hmm.
heard that.
Hmm.
And so because everybody's on that one accord, and that type of feeling is rare, depending on where you go or who you go out with or who you go back and forth vibe with. But when you're in that type of environment where everybody's on the same page, it is really a blessing, especially nowadays.
Well, I mean, I think to your point, if you look at the Chosen Few Festival,
Hmm.
from the days when we were behind the museum to now, and to what it's grown to now, where we have average 30, 40,000 people. It's been going on 35, 37, 38 years now.
Yes.
Um, how many instances of violence have ever been reported at any of the Chosen Few festivals? I always remember a few years ago when Dave Matthews Band had a concert at out there at 95th, 95th in the lake, that area out there.
Hmm.
They had a big concert and there was a big fight out there, but
Hmm.
because it was South, there was some reporter that kind of mistakenly put it on the house music folks. It was like, no, 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 that wasn't the house music. That other music because
Right.
we too busy to fight. So
Thank you. Right.
not that we can't fight,
Right.
not that
You
we
can throw
can't
hands. We
fight.
throw some hands now. I
We
mean,
would
come
throw
on,
some
because we
hands
have to.
now,
Yes.
but we're too. But no, you're right. But I think the lack of violence at Chosen Few is something that I talk about all the time.
Mm.
Is a testament for the type of community. I remember I took a who's now an ex-girlfriend, grew up on the North Shore,
Mhm.
and I took her to Chosen Few one year, and she had never been exposed to anything like that.
Okay.
And afterwards, just spent the whole day there. And I was like, so, when we were leaving, I was like, so, what do you think? She was like, oh my God, you all are your own tribe.
Mm.
It's just like it's so beautiful. Like, and those were all the words she said. It was beautiful, and she was
Yeah.
loved the vibe. And so I was like, yeah, we really are. So yeah, that type of vibe is something that definitely um that definitely has impacted me.
You're in tune with CBI. Chris Bates with you. See, my guest is Chuck Smoot as we go over music and just life in general. You want to call in your comments and questions at 312-597-2106. Again, 312-597-2106. Or continue to comment in the comments section. Let me go back to that real quick. So, yeah, various ways to come on through with your comments and questions. What's up, Omar? Say hello, Chris, and your guest. And Chris, nice shirt you got on, buddy. Well, thank you. He always checks out my shirts. Got the Parliament Funkadelic
That's a P-Funk.
today. Right, exactly.
You got to represent the P-Funk.
Wants to get funked up. Right, exactly. So, and again, so what is your favorite house music song?
So I think house music tune I'm going to cheat here because I'm going to say house music and disco.
Okay.
Sometimes people combine the two, but technically they're different. Actual pure house music tune would have to be 10 Cities, One Kiss Will Make It Better.
Okay.
The long version.
The long.
It
Okay.
has to be 11-minute version. It's just something about that. I think Time Marches On by Marshall Jefferson is a close second. But those would be my two house songs. And if I had to drop a disco song, Brainstorm's Lovin' Is Really My Game. And partly because of that is I still vibrantly remember the first time I heard that song. It was at the Music Box. Ron Hardy was spinning, and I remember how the bass in that song and the break just infected. And that was one of the early times when I was in high school. One of the first times I got high off of a song. And so for me, I have that embedded memory of those songs. And there are there are so many. I was very proud. My son is 28, but about 3 or 4 years ago, he came to me and asked me to give him a list of house songs and disco songs to listen to. And I was never prouder in my life that I see that I had properly indoctrinated my son to want to get into house music and disco music. So,
man, that is great. You mentioned about 10 City. I've been trying to get Byron Stingley on this show for years. I've been reaching out to him, and I know he's a busy man. I know he's like he revitalized his career. And I remember when they were out in real time. So when I was back at Columbia College, Chicago, majoring in radio, our station was WCRX 88.1 FM, and we had a house party show on Thursday nights and Fridays, but mostly Thursday nights, really deep house. My man LaVoy Wilson, aka Dr. Feelgood, was the host of that show.
I remember that well.
I remember he invited 10 City to come up to the station one time, and I missed it. And when I had the conversation with two of the members, this is outside of Byron. In fact, what was it? I've got Burke and Lawson. Herb Lawson. I've got the other guy's name, but Burke. But I had them on my show at WKKC, and so I had them on, and we talked about how they formed a band. And at the time, they were not getting along with Byron Stingley for some reason. Okay. And they were trying to get together because European fractions wanted them to come overseas and perform, make all this buku money, but it was the three of them and things of that nature. So yeah, it was an interesting split. But Byron, I remember they were comparing him to Sylvester, voice wise,
right, because of the falsetto. Yes,
this dude is next up, and so I'm trying to reach out to him, get him on the program because I think it's a great story to tell.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
thing about it is, I remember Devotion, which to me sets the mood for anything, and that's the way love is. And and just the fact that once again it touches you, it hits your soul, it hits your rhythm, and you just go with it. And so those would be ones for me. And also like a house disco song, the great philosopher Theodore, I call him Theodore, but Teddy Pendergrass, You Can't Hide From Yourself.
Everywhere you go, there you are.
Preach, brother.
Absolutely. Teddy P. What was? I mean, and it was, and I think what house music also did is because there were so many other songs. I remember Ron Hardy playing stuff from Dr. Demento and playing the B-52s. I remember Frankie Knuckle, the late great Frankie Knuckles, playing stuff from the Police and from
Voices
the Clash.
Inside My Head.
Yes, I mean, like there were so many influences that wove its way into house music that it spread out and made you explore other genres. Made you explore rock and pop, and sometimes even because I remember someone, I want to say maybe it was Ron Hardy or someone at some party once played "The Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Oh, Charlie Daniels? Oh my
Yes,
God.
a Charlie Daniels song, and like and it fit, it worked,
Mhm.
but that was the nature of what some of these DJs were able to do is take some of these seemingly disparate types of songs and meld them together,
Yes.
and make them work.
So we phase into Prince. So
Right.
tell us about that. When were you introduced to Prince?
So I'll reference back to what I was talking about at the beginning of house music. I was,
Hmm.
I think the first couple of albums I had kind of heard of Prince, but I didn't really pay a lot of attention. But one day, we were over at the Fields house.
Hmm.
Wayne had just bought Dirty Mind. I think he had just bought it,
Hmm.
or he had the album sitting out in their den.
Hmm.
And I had noticed it, but I didn't think much of it. My mother walked in the room and saw, the Dirty Mind album is with Prince with the bikini bottoms on and the boots.
Right.
And my mother saw it and was like, "Oh my God, that's disgusting. You can never listen to that." Now, why did she say that?
That means go listen to it.
So the minute she walked out of the room, Wayne looked over at me. "You want to listen?" Because we know how Wayne was.
Yes.
And Wayne played the album for me. So I got into Prince a little bit out of defiant against my mother,
Interesting.
to,
Okay.
to be honest. But what I do remember Wayne saying at the time, when we were playing the song, I think it was playing Uptown or Dirty Mind. I forget which song it was, but he
Hmm.
was like, mark my word, Prince is going to be one of the biggest stars ever. He was like,
I
this
like
this
that.
guy, like he predicted it,
Yeah.
and we know what type of musical savant Wayne was.
Yeah.
Um, and sure enough, so I bought the next album, uh, Controversy. Then I went to the 1999 concert. So
Mm.
that was a concert with Vanity Six and The Time as the opening acts.
Mm.
And by that time I was hooked.
Oh, big
It
time.
was
Yeah.
that concert really hooked me in, and I would study the lyrics and I would study the songs and I would, copy them down, what have you.
Hmm.
And then obviously, I was with everybody else on the Purple Rain bandwagon. Interestingly enough, the 41st anniversary of Purple Rain was 2 days ago. So it came out 41 years ago on the 28th. And so I remember, and if I remember correctly, I think I went to see Purple Rain with Diane. Uh,
Okay.
she would have to confirm. I think we went to see that together. But yeah, I just remember. I just really remember just getting into the everything that Prince started talking about, and I was tantalized by the sexual overtures and innuendo and
Mm.
thing, but there was also a deeper aspect. I think with the Dirty Mind album and also with the Controversy album, what I was drawn to
Right.
more was from Dirty Mind, a song called Party Up, which was written by Morris Day,
Okay.
which was the anti-war song.
Mm.
And then later you have on the Controversy album, you have Annie Christian,
Yes.
and which was a song written about the death of John Lennon and about the app scam things. And, I that sparked my interest in political music because I was into stuff like the Isley Brothers and
Yes.
Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" and
Mm.
some of the other with James Brown. I
Yeah.
had those influences as well, and that was
Like a
really
harvest
what.
for the world and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Harvest for the World and Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, and
Right.
the whole What's Going On album from Marvin
Yes.
Gaye, which I still think is one of the most brilliant albums ever made. But
Absolutely.
that the political stuff kind of, even though it was a little few and far between,
Mhm.
that's what sucked me into Prince a little more. Than I listened to the other stuff, Then there were the intersections with sex and religion, which as a young teenage male, that titillated me, shall we say.
Just said it.
Yes. And so it just became a thing that I just really started listening to it. Thankfully, the person that I was dating at the time, Diane, was as big of a Prince fan as I was. So that was something she and I bonded over at the time in our Prince stuff. And then going to the concerts. And then I've discovered the bootlegs. There were a bunch of bootlegs. As a reminder, the only artist that is more bootleg than Prince is the Beatles. Yeah. And in the late '80s, I got into all the Prince bootlegs, all the non-release stuff and stuff you could only buy at a secondhand record store like Dr. Wax or Secondhand Tunes. And then I was completely hooked.
Footnote back to 10 City. The members were Byron Stingley, Byron Burke, and Herb Lawson. It was
Herb Lawson. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Me with Prince Controversy was the first song I ever heard.
Okay.
And once again, like you, I was hooked. I didn't care about the panties or the trench coat. All I knew this dude was super bad. And I remember you're right about the sexuality thing. Some guys in high school during that time thought that Prince was gay and did not want anything to do with it. They thought the time was more of a manly band,
right?
To really get with. I didn't give a damn. I didn't give a damn what, and we didn't know at the time. All I knew is that this band musically is probably one of the best I ever heard. Period. And so you phased into the Purple Rain phase, and like you, the only person I knew that really liked Prince was Diane back in high school. And so I remember I told the story before. I'm in my room, and my dad was an avid jazz fan, jazz and blues, more blues. He was like Bobby King, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, and people like that.
That's how my dad was too. Yeah.
And so he's trying to bond with me because I guess he didn't know what kind of music I was listening to. So I had the Purple Rain album, and it was like that Princess guy that's on the mic there. That is Prince, right? Princess. Play that song about the bird. When doves cry, yeah, play that. So I played the long version, about 6 minutes and some change. So my dad sat down next to me on my bed. I didn't give him all the credit in the world because it was agonizing for him to listen to, because it starts off the beat and everything.
Right.
My dad, I mean, he could not take it. So to his credit, he heard everything else. I said, "Okay, Dad, what do you think?" Okay, I don't like the mom and dad stuff. I don't like that at all. But he is a musician. He has great musicality. I give him credit for that. And he walked out, and that's all I needed. For him to give, for my dad to be as a blues lover, for him to give Prince credit, that showed me right then and there how much Prince was strong. And like most people, we went to go see Purple Rain, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And these were now our heroes, not from just music and videos, not on the big screen. And I got a kick out of it. It's like one big long video when you think about it. Nobody's trying to get an Oscar here, but it was just fun to watch, to see the music that we heard on our albums and on radio get in within the storyline of Purple Rain. And me personally, when I saw the person play his father, Clarence Williams III, I was like, I haven't seen him since the Mod Squad. I was like, Link. I was enjoying to see Link, on the screen again. So I was just getting kicked out of that, and followed his career ever since. And it was a wonderful movie to jumpstart one's career. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, and of course going on tour, you mentioned before about the people opening acts from the movie. Vanity 6 became Apollonia 6 at the time. It was just, you knew it was special in real time.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about the movie that, and in later years, what I appreciate most about Purple Rain, the movie, and that is after, towards the, when we're getting to the ultimate moment of the movie, right after he had played Purple Rain in the movie, and he storms off stage, and he's running. It goes into
the pacing
initially. He's pacing for it. He's about to get on his bike.
Right.
And he sees Jill Jones standing underneath the stairs, and she's crying.
Yes. Yes.
And he stops for a moment, and everything goes, and he looks at Jill, he sees her crying, and he finally hears all the applause.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at her, walks up, gives her a kiss, and goes back in.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this is, and I actually used this once in a sermon, the reason that moment resonated so much to me is because it's a reminder that sometimes we have to stop and take a moment and listen for the applause.
Mm-hmm.
Listen for the people who are supporting us. Listen for the people who are getting us. At that moment, Prince was in that movie, and throughout his life, I think, a little bit of a tortured artist, not always sure if people were really digging him as an artist. But that one moment in the movie where he allows himself to hear the applause
Mm-hmm.
and hear the appreciation. And I think that's something we all strive for. I think that's something that we all need to work on, is to be able to quiet ourselves and listen for that. And that was a lesson that I got from Prince in that from that movie. And that's one of the reasons why, I think Purple Rain as a movie, you're right. It's not exactly, it's a great movie nostalgia wise.
Yes.
But there are nuggets. And for me, that was one of the most powerful nuggets in that movie.
I go along with that. That's nice. Let's go back to the comment section. Let's see. How you doing, Jed? Very descriptive talk. Was it on the Entourage? Was it affect great music? It's the best soul food. You had me at P-Funk. Oh, absolutely, Jed. You can't go wrong with P-Funk.
Can't go wrong with P-Funk.
As a matter of fact, I remember listening to Prince's version of "Make My Funk a P-Funk."
Yes, Lord.
Yes.
Look, Prince in concert was a force to be reckoned with.
Mm.
But what I will say is, and when I say that, I'm not talking about the big arena concerts.
Right.
My favorite Prince concerts were the small after shows, here in Chicago,
the intimate ones, yes.
When he played the Park West, or if he played the Aragon, or if he played Cabaret Metro. Mm-hmm. Those places where there are only 300, 400, 500 people. That is where he shined, because that's where you saw his musicianship. Mm-hmm. That's where you saw him not playing for the crowd, but playing for himself.
Yes.
And I'd say one of my favorite memories, it was a concert. It was at the Cabaret Metro. Mm-hmm. And this was mid-90s. It was an after show. Mm-hmm. And at this after show, I got to see Prince play on stage with John Lee Hooker.
Ooh.
And and the two of them going back and forth. And what you saw was John Lee Hooker, this legendary blues man, this legendary guitar player. You saw the visual approval of Prince when he was playing with him, and the smile and the vibe. Like,
right.
You could see the parts of that old school, really kind of anointing and saying, yes, mm-hmm. Prince is the real deal. So it was, that was a great, I'll tell you something. And mm-hmm. at that same concert, may he rest in peace, when Malcolm Jamal Warner was at that same concert.
Oh, get out of town, man.
And that was the first time I ever heard Malcolm Jamal Warner do spoken word. Mm. I'll be honest, he wasn't that good.
Okay.
But it was, I remember when, because apparently Malcolm John Warner was good friends with Tony M, who was one of Prince's rappers. Okay. And Tony convinced Prince to allow Malcolm to come up. But all of us was like, whoa. Theo was on stage with Prince. Theo Huxtable's on stage with Prince. So,
right.
I keep remembering that thought, ever since Malcolm Jamal Warner passed. But
Yeah.
at one point, Malcolm John Warner was on stage with Prince.
Amazing stuff. Back to the
Yeah.
peanut gallery. I am a P-Funk fan, and the Gap Band, and the Family, Sly and the Family Stone. My favorite from Sly and the Family Stone, was it? Is I Can't
Turn You
Turn You
Loose.
Loose. Oh, okay. Like I said before, see, music brings out everybody's taste
Yes.
and what they like as we continue on the comment section.
You
Okay,
know,
start over. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Look, I'll talk about this character in a second, but go ahead.
well, I think the Sly Stone reference is very apropos.
Mhm.
There's the documentary on Hulu, Sly Lives, that Questlove did.
Yes.
And what you understand is that Sly Stone, had there not been a Sly Stone, there would have been no Prince.
I totally agree.
And you can see the elements that Prince took from Sly Stone when you watch the documentary. And I mean, Sly Stone, what was a once in a generation talent, just like Prince was, just like George Clinton, just like James Brown, other people that that influenced Prince. But
Yes.
when you see these documentaries of these individuals, there was a moment where you could just see how Sly Stone inspired Prince with his musicianship and with his with how he handled his career.
Amazing. Yeah, that whole dynamic when you look at influences. I mean, you go back to, you said about Sly to Prince, even Jimi Hendrix.
Yes,
Prince.
yes,
And there's
absolutely.
that connectability. And I remember reading an article about Prince when he reached out to Dick Clark to get tape of James Brown. You know the trick with the microphone that he, lean and it would lean back
Right.
and forth and never fall off, or he would do under his legs. He needed that tape to put into his own DNA, as
Right.
you saw in his work. So when you get from the greats and find your own voice, literally, that's usually what happens. Somebody lay down the blueprint that you've already seen, and then how do you create your own blueprint? By
Exactly.
using them as an example.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you look at, all the different influences that inspired Prince, and then you look at, who Prince inspired.
Yes.
I got turned on recently, ironically, about a year ago, to Janelle Monáe. A friend of mine at the time was into her and was like, "Oh, if you like Janelle, if you like Prince, you'll like Janelle Monáe." And I was like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
And I was like, wow. Like, once I actually listened to her, I was like, oh, okay, I see it. And Prince actually did play on a couple of her songs. And he kind of mentored her a little bit. Her and I think since Prince's death, I think I've gotten into a little bit of a few of the people that Prince were mentoring around that time, notably Janelle Monáe and Esperanza Spalding, who I think is the future of jazz. She's an amazing bassist, and she just has some incredible chops. But she is someone else that was very heavily influenced by Prince and worked with Prince. And you can hear that, even though she is 98% a jazz artist, you can hear the Prince influences in her music. So, I think that is the testament to the artist that Prince was, and I would say that Prince still is. That his influence is going to outlast us all.
I agree. The same Lenny Kravitz. You can tell
absolutely.
when you're touched by a person that,
Yes.
again, you, and dare I say, love
Mhm.
and admire, and you wonder what makes them tick, and then you find out, again, going back to what I said about Blueprint, when you're able to even, like, I remember a conversation that I saw on television about Kobe Bryant, how he felt about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And if you're a follower of basketball, the only person I've seen that has a similar game to Michael Jordan is Kobe Bryant.
It's Kobe Bryant. I completely agree. Completely
so Kobe
agree.
said when he would go against him in games, I just need to touch him. I just need to feel it. And so just the fact that he's guarding him, wants to feel it. And I remember him saying to some of the younger Lakers, when he's on the Lakers, younger players, what I get, when you see me, what I got from him, meaning Jordan.
Mhm.
So you can tell when people are touched and then find their own way.
There's a clip you can find on YouTube of a Chicago Prince concert in Chicago. It was at the United Center when
Mhm.
he brought Jennifer Hudson on stage.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Jennifer Hudson is somebody, in my opinion, she can sing the phone book and she'll be good. But he brought her on stage, and when you watch, like I said, it's on YouTube,
Yes.
the excitement on her face as she's singing and she's just watching Prince. It was infectious because you
Mhm.
could see it's same thing when CeeLo Green did a thing with Prince. I think it was, I forgot where that was, but there's
Mhm.
another clip of that as well. Like you see these other artists when they perform with Prince, and you see how they looked at him
Mhm.
while they were performing, and it's just and all this is post Purple Rain because
Mhm.
I'll say this, and I feel honor bound to say this,
Sure.
and some of your listeners probably will not appreciate this, but Purple Rain is not Prince's best album.
Oh, no, no, no.
You know,
No, I agree. I
and
agree with that. I think it's a. Let me cut you off real quick. I think
Mhm.
it's a lead in to his better work. It's an
Right.
introduction. If you think of it, depending on where you were when you first heard Prince and what a song or
Mhm.
songs or album, I agree. I think again, the older he got, the better he got.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, Sign of the Times was his artistically his best album.
Hmm.
But and I'm looking forward to next month. They've remastered the movie Sign of the Times, and it's going to be in IMAX theaters.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna be right there with bells on. But
Mm,
you also have stuff, his forays into jazz. I think people don't appreciate how gifted of a jazz musician that Prince was.
right,
Between the influence of his own father, who was a distinguished jazz musician in his own right.
right.
But Prince put out, I would say, at least either under his own name or under side projects, he did about five jazz albums,
I didn't
and
know
a
that. Okay.
couple of them are nothing short of fantastic. I mean, they're really interested. I'm really interested to see what comes out of the vault because
Yeah.
I think there's more stuff. I know there's stuff with Miles Davis. I'm guessing there's a gospel album in there somewhere. So when they go through the whole vault, I think we will be very surprised with what we get out of there.
How did you feel about Prince's family letting his music become commercialized?
Mm, it's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
I get that they're trying to work on the brand of Prince and promote the brand of Prince. I think it goes without saying that Prince probably wouldn't have liked it.
Right.
Um, but I think that is, I don't mean this to be callous, but
Sure.
I think that is a consequence of what happens when you don't have a will,
Mm,
or you don't have an active will.
okay.
But I think the thing is that I think initially the Prince Estate, I have not agreed with a lot of the things that the Prince Estate has done.
Mm,
I've appreciated uh, some of the re-releases, the Purple Rain 1999 Sign of the Times.
hmm.
Um, they did Diamonds and Pearls. Apparently, they're going to do Parade and Around the World in a Day next.
Hmm.
Those albums, I appreciate that, but there are certain things that Prince wouldn't have gotten down with
I agree.
in terms of a commercial thing. Like, um, not that I've seen this, but just as an example, Prince wouldn't have been promoting Pepsi.
No,
And
no,
if the family wants to license his songs to Pepsi products or Coke products,
no. Mm.
no, that doesn't fit.
I
But
think he did. I think there was a song they used for a Target or Target
yes,
commercial.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, I was like, okay, I'm
no,
not.
that
Yeah.
that 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 didn't fit. But
Nah.
if you want to license it, then license it towards some of these nonprofits, of the type of
Okay.
nonprofits that Prince supported very quietly. throughout his life. Let use the music to support institutions that are seeking to support areas of the community that were important to Prince. Prince was
Yes.
very much about music education. He was very much about education in general. As for someone who barely graduated from high school, and I don't mean that negatively, that's by his own words, he barely graduated from high school, only because he was too busy doing music to,
Absolutely.
want to study history or something. But I think those are the things that we're seeing the craziness now simply because Prince didn't have a will. And had he had a will, I think things would be a lot different.
Well, again, you mentioned about the school thing, and it's not a degrading situation with Prince because look at how much he succeeded. Hell, the late great ABC News anchor Peter Jennings,
right,
dropped out of high school.
That's true. That is
look
very
what happened
true.
to him. So school, when it comes to individuals, I think again, depending on the person or persons themselves, they see something greater for themselves. It's not like they're not wasting their time, but they're wasting their time in their mind. It's like I can move on and get this thing going without sometimes school holding them back. So it's an individual process depending on who's involved.
Well, and I think that speaks to a larger conversation, and one that I've started having with some of my fraternity brothers and some of our programs. Not everyone needs to go to college.
True.
Not everyone is fit to go to college.
True.
And as a result, you do have someone, I mean, let's face it. I think when you look at in the annals of our culture over the last 100 years, Prince does qualify as a genius. My personal opinion. Musically, he was a genius, and genius of that type doesn't need to be necessarily, doesn't have place in a collegiate classroom.
They function differently.
They function differently. They think differently. They move differently, and as a result, but they had you pigeonholed him and said you must go to college or you must do this. Think of everything we would have missed out on because he would have missed what I believe was his true calling, which was to make music.
Amazing. So back in the day when my mom was a principal at Wendell E. Green Wendell E. Green Elementary School, outside Chicago, she met with one of the school's parents. There was a child that went there, it was a boy, and she introduces herself and tells my mom, I just got signed to go on tour with Prince. It was Cat.
Oh.
And Cat's son went to my mom's school.
Okay.
And was like, I'm going to be on tour. I just signed the contract. Could you do me a favor? Look out for him. Look out for him while I'm gone. And when I come back to town, I immediately come here and everything else. But she had just got signed to become a dancer and work with Prince. And again, my mom was like elated, just the fact that, of course, she knew who Prince was, and the fact that here's somebody whose son goes to her school. I mean, it was more than an honor.
Oh, absolutely.
And so those type of connects, again, going back to said before about artists who are on the same stage with him, and all of a sudden there's this glee because you're in the presence of greatness. You cannot deny it. So you can ignore it. You can try to give the Heisman Trophy stiff arm. You're one of those people. But if you're a person that knows that, embrace it. Embrace the time that you have with that greatness. It's beyond a blessing.
Well, I mean, when you talk about Cat, the funniest thing is, I remember listening when I got a copy of the Black Album when it was still a bootleg, and I was listening to the song Cindy C, and just listening da 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 da, and all of a sudden, Cat comes in with the rap from J.M. Silk's Music is the Key. And so a lot of, I was very involved with the online Prince communities during the 90s and early 2000s. I was almost, kind of obsessed with it. And they were all oh, that's such a great rap, and Cat did such a great thing, and that was such a great thing that Prince wrote. And I was like, no, 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 no. That was a Chicago, that was Steve Hurley. But to have that Chicago connection, because Steve Hurley actually remixed, he did some of the remixes from the Diamonds and Pearls album.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so he did, like, there were a lot of Chicago connections with Prince. Sometimes I think people don't realize that, with Steve Hurley doing the mixing with Cat Glover, he had a member of his band whose wife was from Chicago at one point. We think of the things he did with the Marva Collins School. I mean, hell,
Yes, he did.
Part of the first verse of the song "Sign of the Times" reference to Chicago, maybe not in the best way, but when he references the gang, the Disciples, so there were a lot of Chicago connections, and as I said, for someone like me, I always studied the lyrics and all of this stuff, but it was, Kat was someone who I had known because Kat went to Morgan Park, I believe.
Okay.
And I remember meeting her back in the day before she when she first started dancing, because she used to be out on the set, and some of the house stuff. I remember meeting her once or twice at a couple of clubs. So you still have all these connections, and those things made it more special to me because these are things like, oh, well, I know this, I know where this came from, I know where that came from, and I think others in certain other cities may have had similar things, but the song "Housequake,"
yes,
that is a tribute to Chicago. That is a tribute to Chicago house music, in fact. And so we have these little Prince things that run through the fabric of our existence here in Chicago.
Let's see. So I put this character up here. Because you're new, I got to tell you the film backstory. Okay. This guy is a broadcaster like myself and worked in radio.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of Batman. And I believe every Batman needs a Joker. And so he's become my Joker. This guy is really. So once again, let me tell you the backstory about this. So he's a fellow broadcaster himself. He comes in late and tells me to start over. Now, how in the hell I'm going to start over? And it's not like you don't know. You do the exact same thing I do. He just does he plays jazz music. So go figure. I don't know. I don't know. I try to help the brother. Let's see. So So what's the backstory of Head? Since you mentioned Party Up, which I didn't know Moore's Day wrote. Controversy album, was more political. Going back to you said mainly anti-Christian.
Yeah. So I think depends on who you listen to regarding the impetus for Head, but I think someone said, Prince unfortunately was not always forthcoming about the inspiration for some of his songs.
Okay.
Like he wasn't. I just got through watching the great documentary on HBO Max on Billy Joel, which was a fantastic thing where he talks about a lot of his stuff, and Sting has done the same thing. Others, Prince didn't do that. The story that I heard is that Head was born out of a dream that he had, and that he went to some club somewhere, saw some woman, and he had a dream about her. Yeah. And then that's where Head came from. Don't quote me on that. Yeah. Right. Don't quote me on that, but that's just what I heard through grapevine stuff.
Let's see. All legendary stuff. Let's see. Talk about Prince album Madhouse 6 and his other jazz album North, South, East, West.
So the other album he's talking about, Madhouse, had two official releases. Which was 8 and 16. There was a third Madhouse album, which unfortunately never came out, which was 24, which is actually my favorite out of all of the three. But the song that he referenced, the album that he referenced was called News. Each song was called North, South, East, West. Each song is exactly 12 minutes long.
Interesting. Okay.
News was the first time Prince was nominated for a non-pop or R&B Grammy. He was nominated for best best jazz instrumental album for that one.
Mhm.
And so it was, yeah, and it's absolutely, it's a great album. There's another album called C Note that he did, which was part of Prince's pettiness. Because C Note was another jazz album. There are 5 songs, 4 jazz songs, 1 vocal. But C Note was a kind of a screw you to fans who, when Prince had the 1-800-MPG,
Mhm.
that phone line he had where you could buy albums
Right, I remember that.
on this phone line. And there was a big problem with delivery on stuff. We all paid $100 to get certain things, and we didn't get it, and we were all
Right.
complaining. And there were talk of a class action lawsuit against Prince and Paisley Park that never went anywhere.
Mhm.
But then came out C Note. Get it? We all paid $100.
Right,
The album is
right.
called C Note.
Mhm.
But it's a brilliant album. Like,
Yeah.
even in his being upset, and almost doing an FU to the fans,
Right.
he puts out an amazing piece of music. I mean, there's this one song on there called Tokyo, and it is arguably up there with one of Prince's most beautiful songs. And so it's, yeah, even in his pettiness, because Prince was a petty dude. I mean, let's be clear. I mean,
I've heard, yes.
he was a petty Negro. But at the core of all of that is he could still produce music that resonates. And what I really want to hear, if we're talking about the jazz stuff, there is a rumor that there's a full album with him and Miles Davis.
Stop.
And I'm praying the Prince Estate will remaster that and put that out, because
That'll be lights out, man.
that would just be amazing. I mean, Miles Davis had a lot of respect for Prince, and he talked about his whole thing. They did play together. You can see, you can find some of those clips on YouTube. And on one of the releases, I forget the name of the song, but I think it's called Crucial. Is that Miles Davis played on it? I think he played on Crucial. But there's rumors that they did a whole album together.
Man.
And that would just be eargasms all over the place to hear something like that.
Amazing. I know you don't drink. I may probably take me a drink before I listen to that, man, just to ground me.
Oh no, I drink. Oh yes. And,
good.
And,
okay, great.
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely, if that comes out, I would definitely pour me a glass of my good Japanese whiskey.
Look at you. Okay. Man, I'll join you with some nice tequila.
Okay, and, there you go.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, that's a good time.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah. I mean,
back to the. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Let's see. Back to the comment section. Another purple fan. How you doing, Innova? Says Chris Base Nation. Chuck with the purple hearts there.
Innova and I come from the same home church.
Innova and I went to grammar school together. I've known her since kindergarten. I've
known her and her family for the majority of my life. Like I said, we came out of the same church.
How you like that?
Her parents and my mom were, they were buddies. So, hey, Innova, how you doing?
Small world. Tell you, tiny.
Yes,
Lorenzo, I just saw Lorenzo. Lorenzo is an actor by trade as well. I just saw him again on the rerun of Barbershop. He's the guy that comes in and tells Calvary can't get the loan. And so this is my man right here. How you doing, Lorenzo? Okay. Says genius music makers tell stories that impact head and heart. Absolutely. When you're able to, again, do that, and really is a gift from God. I mean, I know some people might disagree, but it really is, because we have to tap into the gifts that we've been born with.
Absolutely.
And so we go through experimental times to see what works, and then we find out what our area of excellence is, and then we try to, of course, utilize that. Back to the comment section. I don't know, Barbara Jean. Cat Glover was Chinta Strasburg's cousin. Okay, Chinta Strasburg, writer for the Chicago Defender.
Oh, okay.
So cool. There you go. And also, What's up, Diane? My hairstylist said he is learning a lot about Prince. Well, there you go.
Well, you know, I'm glad Diane could listen to us. You know, even though she had a hair appointment, because we know how Diane is about her hair.
Well, you know, it's very strict hair. You know.
Yes, she's very strict about that. Yes,
Absolutely.
she is.
Okay, your take on the revolution versus the new power generation. The maniacal laugh comes out once again, right?
Well, because I think when it comes to the new power generations, there are two different groups. There are two different iterations of the new power generation.
Okay.
So I don't think you can just say across the board. Me personally, my favorite is the second new power generation band lineup, which that encompasses Rosie Gaines, Tommy Barbarella, Levi Ceasar, Morris Hayes, and so for me, and their zenith was the album Exodus. That was the second new power generation album. This was released during the time when Prince was going under the symbol, so he's credited on the album under the name Tora Tora, and he was doing interviews at the time with a scarf over his face, whatever. But that album, honestly, I always say that's the best Prince album no one's ever heard. Unfortunately, it's out of print.
Okay.
But it is pure, like it is truly, if you are into funk, you know, it are all the elements of James Brown and George Clinton and Sly Stone are all there, and you know, there's you know, play a little bit with hip hop a little bit, but it is just and it's also a very funny album because he did those interludes, like little skits in between a couple of songs.
Oh, he did.
So there's one skit that's really funny called the Mashed Potato Girl. When it's absolutely hilarious. You know, you can find most of the stuff on YouTube, but
yes,
Exodus is to me where you see Prince at, you know, he was angry because he was angry before going through all the stuff with the record companies, you know, writing slave on his face and what have you.
Remember that, yes.
But, you know, it reminds me of that line from American Gods, you know, the infamous Orlando Jones line,
yes.
Playing Anansi, you know, anger gets shit done.
He was right. And
that album, like I said, Prince was angry, but it's you know, it's just an amazing album. So that iteration of the new power generation is that, and I saw them in concert a couple of times. I think Rosie Gaines was her something else, like I said, on YouTube. Prince did a cover of Dr. Feelgood, Aretha Franklin song.
Okay.
With Rosie Gaines she's singing lead.
Yes.
She kills it. And he does an amazing guitar solo. I remember I played it for my mother once. And she said, I didn't know that little Negro could play like that. I was like, see? I told you, you know.
Right. A little Negro,
right. Well, actually, she didn't say Negro.
Oh, use the other word. Okay.
She used the other word. Okay. But my mother was, you know, big Aretha Franklin fan, you know, comes out of that era. And so when you see people from that era, when Prince did that cover, and like I said, it's his that version of Dr. Feelgood is nothing short of sublime. It's absolutely
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these Prince stories, I'm telling you, make you think. What's up, Lorenzo? Again, Chicago was better than Motown with producers and musicians.
That's an interesting thought. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I had to give us some thought too. I mean, again, both. Well, usually back in the day, the two were connected. So, for example, if we had Motown, you know, doing their thing, say the Jackson 5, they would come here to Chicago to promote who they were and perform, and other artists. So it was like a back and forth. You get the albums, you know, of course, get the songs from Motown, play on Chicago station like WVON back in the day, and then they would come out to perform. So yeah, as far as artists coming out of Chicago is concerned, I got to think about that one.
Well, because I think you have the influence of Chess Records.
Yes.
And when you have the stories of both Led Zeppelin and the Beatles saying they wanted to come here just to record at Chess Records, but then when you go into the '70s, you look at Curtis Mayfield, Maurice White,
Jerry the Iceman Butler.
Jerry Butler, may he rest in peace. Like Chicago did have. Yeah, I think that's definitely worth considering and discussing, because Chicago did have some banging, and we can even look even more recently, Kanye before he went off to Crazyville.
Oh,
Kanye
yeah,
was an incredible producer.
I dare anybody to go up against the album College Dropout. I think that was a masterclass.
And you know who actually sold me on that album is my son. My son.
Okay.
My son was a huge Kanye West fan, and he's the one that sold me on that album. He got me to listen to the whole thing. We listened to it together, and I was like, okay. I was like, you got a point, and so I started listening to that because of my son. So
it's amazing how life works like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, of course, Diane with the laughing emojis about the hair stuff. So, we call it like we see it. And, we're former hair people ourselves.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with acknowledging people who still have hair. So,
exactly.
Diane, we give you high praise, and Innova as well, because you got your own hair. Nothing wrong with that. And, of course, Innova Types, it's good to see you both. I love Prince. Another Prince person.
Now, Innova can attest to the fact that when I was an assistant minister at our home church, and on at least 2 occasions I preached sermons based on Prince songs.
Amazing.
And I used to get the craziest looks from people like, really, you're preaching on Prince? But I found a way to make it work. But that was the way I was inspired. That was one of the ways that Prince inspired me, because there were elements of his songs that, to me, particularly 2 songs in particular. I preached on one song called Live for Love, which is on the Diamonds and Pearls album. And I preached a sermon based on The Sacrifice of Victor, which was on the Love Symbol album. And even the old folks in the church, after they got over the fact that I was using a Prince song, they're like, "Oh, well, baby, that was pretty good, even though you talked about Prince." So,
did they call him the little N-word too, or just your mother?
No. We were in church at that moment, so
okay,
everyone was on their best behavior. So,
okay, good,
right? Somebody did
left the church, and
when we left the church, that's a different story.
Absolutely. Oh man, going back to the whole commercialism thing. So. Even though it was commercial, it kind of fit. There was a movie that came out a while back, The Book of Clarence.
Yes.
And when they were promoting it, the song in the background was Prince's "I Would Die for You." Well, it really fit. And I'm not a big fan of Prince commercialism, but that came together. I actually watched the movie. It was very good, despite the people who didn't really care for it. I like the fact of it dealing with the fact of, okay, so people don't think about it. It just made sense to me. If you have people out there during the time of Christ who was the true Messiah, who say there weren't people trying to pretend they were Messiahs?
Exactly.
To use that type of to get people to get their money. So to me, it made sense, because we don't talk about that, but just human nature. You have people who just claim to be who they are, false prophets and the like. So when the trailer came out with Prince singing in the background, "I Would Die for You," I think it fit perfectly.
Absolutely. I think the thing about Purple Rain is it was, and a friend of mine says this all the time, and I agree with him, is that Prince deliberately set out to create a hit pop album. And he had this movie, and it was, I saw someone once dissect certain things. You even look at the cover of Purple Rain, the album, and it's nothing but an advertisement for the movie. And so it was this zeitgeist of pop commercialism. And at that time, he also, and we can. He was trying to show that he was as good as Michael Jackson.
Yes.
That he was showing that he was the new kid, that he was a new kid on the block. But he delivered what he knew what people wanted, but it did not. And this is where I get into arguments with people.
Mhm.
As brilliantly as Purple Rain was as a commercial entity, it did not encompass the totality of his musicianship. Although you see elements of that, the fact that he removed the bass line out of When Doves Cry, the fact that he really thumbed his nose up at the powers that be with Darling Nikki, because he knew that, and putting the little backwards part at the end of it, knowing people are going to, because I was one of the people that was spinning the records backward, trying to
See
understand.
what he was talking about, right?
Right, see what he was saying. And
Right.
and even with that, I mean, let's think about that, with the backmasking thing that had been going on with, Led Zeppelin and others being accused of it, and with Prince knowing that he was going to do it, what was the message on his backmasking? Hello, how are you? I'm fine because I know the Lord is coming soon. That was in his backmask. And so that was, again, this is why I say Prince was petty. And this is the time a petty that I liked, because by doing that backmasking and invoking God in it, that's another little screw you to the critics who are like,
Yes.
oh, you say I'm this, but here, I'm going to give you a message about God on it. And, for you to be all coming on the back of a song that just talked about a woman masturbating in a hotel lobby. So I mean, think about the contradiction there. You just get through
Right.
one song about public masturbation, and then you say, "Hey, I'm fine because I know the Lord is coming." So
I'm sorry, Stone Cold Genius. As a matter of fact, Enver typed, I remember those sermons. Excellent.
So yeah, I was crazy enough to preach on Prince. So go figure.
What's cool was I remember years ago I'm watching the Today Show with Brian Gumble
Mm-hmm.
and Katie Couric, and who appears on there? Prince.
Right.
And his favorite song was Raspberry Beret.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what was interesting was, I believe it was his birthday or something like that, or maybe he was leaving the show, something like that.
Yeah, it was Brian Gumbel's last week, I believe.
Last week, right?
Yeah.
And here comes Prince on there with the glasses. And what was funny was
dressed as Brian Gumbel,
because Brian Gumbel wore Brooks Brothers suits. When the producers got wind of what kind of suit he was wearing, he went over to Brooks Brothers. They opened up early to get there at 3 in the morning, for the show. He goes over there, gets the exact same suit, and comes over to the Today Show on NBC. I was floored.
Yeah,
and just the fact he's singing along with him when they pan the camera back to Brian Gumbel, and he's crying while he's singing. That man's music can touch everybody. Why do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
Why do you think? Because my daughters love Prince. My wife loved Prince. We're like a Prince family. We love Prince. When I showed them the movie for the first time, again, it was like an advertisement to other movies and other things that Prince was doing. Why do you think Prince is so timeless?
Because I think Prince is in that group of individuals like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and James Brown and John Lennon. They played from the soul. He wrote and played music from, and of course he did certain things for show and he did certain other things. But, when you talk about, there are songs of Prince that like I still can't, especially since he passed away, I still can't listen to Sometimes It Snows in April all the way through without choking up. I think there are times you can feel that I think Prince said in an interview once that most of what you want to know about me is in my music, is in my songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes those aspects where we that move us the most are when we can feel those things that are coming from his soul. I remember the first time I heard Forever in My Life off the Sign of the Times album, which was a marriage proposal to Susanna, Wendy from the Revolution, her twin sister. But I just remember being moved by that. I mean, that whole album to me, whole Sign of Time album is absolutely brilliant. But like, I remember being moved to tears through that. And once seeing him in concert, and while I am not a huge fan of the song Purple Rain, was a concert that I went to in Milwaukee. And I don't know what it was, just something about the guitar solo that night was just exceedingly beautiful. And I was in a whole group of people who weren't even cheering. We were just sitting there like the woman in the movie, just crying because it was speaking to our souls. And I think that's what made Prince the architect of a true sound, and being the true artist that he was, is that he was able to do that in the vein. Because I mean, Stevie does that. Like I said, Marvin Gaye does that, or Aretha Franklin does that. Sade does that. I mean, there are, and while he's not singular in that, he is a part of that amazing group of artists that was able to affect us on a deeper level.
Yeah, for me, Purple Rain, I can't listen to it. It's not because of negative; it makes me cry. When I first heard it, and then saw it in the movie, and then heard over the years, it speaks to you differently, because it's different when you're 15 or 14. And you hear it again when you're 27. You hear it again when you're 45 and 30. It hits differently because you changed, you evolved. Your mind's different. You're different. And you probably heard things in the song you never heard before, that now it hits home. So I stay away from it, but if I was listening to it, I just start bawling, because to me, it's a beautiful piece of work. The guitar solo, like you said, the guitar solo takes me out completely. And it was just an amazing piece of work. Let me go back to the conversation real quick. I want to get you to take on something else as well. So Innova says, my brother loves the song Raspberry Beret. I love the song too. And she asked you a question here. Did you like Under the Cherry Moon movie? I'll let you go first, because goddamn.
You know what? That's perfect. So, yes, I like it. It is not a very good movie. It really isn't, but it doesn't have to be. My current girlfriend, during COVID, we were going back and forth trading TV shows and movies. And one day I said to her, I'm going to do the second most sadistic thing to you I could ever do. And she said, what? I said, we're going to watch Under the Cherry Moon. The most sadistic thing would be to make her watch Graffiti Bridge, which I have not done yet. But
just stab me right here, Jesus. Okay.
But the thing with Under the Cherry Moon was, it was Prince being a Negro in Paris, and
way before Jay-Z and Kanye West, right?
Way before Jay-Z and Kanye,
right?
And it was never better manifested from the infamous Record Store scene. Where do you go if you want to buy a Sam Cooke album? I mean, it has moments that are completely timeless and classic, but it has one of the worst death scenes in any movie ever. Like that death scene when he gets shot on the, oh my God! Like, I confess, I don't know. Are you a Star Trek fan?
Yes.
So remember in Generations, the death scene when Kirk died, and the oh my, and then Kirk died.
Right.
Like that's one of the only death scenes I think that's worse than the death scene in Under the Cherry Moon.
I'll take that death scene over Under the Cherry Moon any day of the week. What do you got here, Ann? I love the movie plus the soundtrack. Okay, you go ahead. The soundtrack is bumping. Don't get me wrong. Girls and boys. I mean, it's great. But the movie. First of all, I was dating Vic, and we go to the movie theater in Hyde Park, and we're watching it, and it's in black and white. I guess like artsy type of thing, I guess. And so we're watching it, and the character name that plays is Christopher.
Christopher, yeah.
So I'm already hot. So I'm watching this crap, and I'm saying throughout the movie, this is bullshit. And Vicky was like, shh, don't say anything or anything else. So when he gets shot, Chuck, I stood up and applauded. I applauded the fact that the movie was over and his ass got shot. Yes. I was like, yes. This is the best part of the movie. And people started laughing and everything else, but it's my favorite part. It is, you can't get that back because those 2 hours are gone, whatever. And and the popcorn was stale. But just the fact that he got shot and killed. And I'm like, this is great. Don't get me wrong. We're not there for artistic Shakespeare and the screw with the same with the screw or something like that. We're not there for that. But just the fact that it's not entertaining. Once again, the music is bumping. Don't get me wrong. The soundtrack is great, mountains and everything else. But yeah, that was a waste of time. I cannot.
Yeah,
I cannot.
And see, I remember because Diane and I went to see Under the Cherry Moon, and I remember leaving it, and I said something. She was like, "Oh, but he looks so pretty." I'm like, I don't care about him looking pretty. It was just, but the music.
Yeah.
And I am somewhat excited. The estate did announce within the last month that they are going to do a re-release of Parade of the album. And I would tell you, I'm excited about that because some of the outtakes from that era are just banging. Like those are some really good non-release songs. But yeah, it was Under the Cherry Moon is one of those guilty. It's one of those one of those movies you love to hate, And it's not a good movie, but yet I like it anyway.
I don't love the hate. I hate. I hate it times two. What are you gonna do? You say, Diane, that movie and Graffiti Bridge was hard. That's another. Okay, hold on. Let me get these because now got me started. Advertise really, Chris, really, and really. That's what we're on. That's what I'm on right now. Walter types Jimi Hendrix, Carlos Santana, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Slash becomes the guitarist.
You got to add Eric Clapton and Prince. Yeah. I think, and I want to come back to that in a second, but
sure.
Graffiti Bridge was, okay, now the album Graffiti Bridge has one of my favorite songs of all time, Joy and Repetition. Mm-hmm. It's just a amazing song. Mm-hmm. But no, that movie, I tolerate it because I view it as a long form video.
Yes.
Instead of as a movie. I can't help but to look at Under the Cherry Moon as a movie. But Graffiti Bridge is, to me, a long form video.
I go along with that, yes.
And so that makes it tolerable. But one day when I really want to be mean to my girlfriend, Nicole, I'm going to make her watch Graffiti Bridge. But I have to give her a couple of years in between.
What does she do to get this horrible situation that happened to her?
She bought a house with me.
All right, no shit.
or better yet, I should say she said yes to the first date. I mean,
okay.
I can. Yeah, I mean, this is all her fault. I mean,
this is what you get, right?
Yeah, I'm not to blame. This is what she signed up for.
This is what Walter said before this. So, where would you compare Prince again as a guitar player with Jimi Hendrix and other people we just mentioned?
I don't think Prince can hold Jimi Hendrix's shoes. I think Jimi Hendrix is the pinnacle of guitar players. I do think, with the others, I think with Santana, maybe he edges him out, definitely edges out Slash. I think the problem with, and while technically we say this about Hendrix, I will say this about Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Mhm.
I think Stevie Ray Vaughan was also an amazing guitarist, but I think if he had lived a couple more years, I think he maybe could have eclipsed Hendrix. Like, I think he was on the way to being that good. He
Mhm.
didn't get there yet.
Right.
But I mentioned reference
Eric
Eric
Clapton.
Clapton
Yes.
because a couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, maybe a couple of years before Prince passed
Mhm.
away, someone asked Eric Clapton. They were talking to him about his career, and they said, "How does it feel to be the best guitar player in the world?" And Eric Clapton said, "I don't know. Ask Prince."
Good one. Good answer.
And I remember, Eric's nickname, Eric Clapton's nickname is God. That he is, God on. And while Eric Clapton is a racist and an asshole and what have you,
Mhm.
there is no doubt he is one of the premier guitar players. And for him to give that response, and then flash forward maybe a year later, is when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance happened,
Mhm.
doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps,
Yes.
which we see has gone down as to one of the greatest televised guitar solos in history. And it's just, I think, as a guitar player, Prince had very few peers. But I'm also going to say this: Prince was also an outstanding piano player.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we look at how great of a guitarist he was, and
Right.
he was. But he was also an amazing piano player, and you really get that. And I think I didn't appreciate that until the jazz stuff started coming out.
Okay.
Until the jazz albums with Madhouse, and then the News album and the C Note album. But Prince was an amazing piano player as well. And so, yeah, both of those. But yeah, I still say Jimi Hendrix is still top dog. Prince maybe comes in, deserves to be in the top 5.
Duly noted. End of Graffiti Bridge was terrible. Good. At least we agree on that. Lenny
Yes.
Kravitz was good friends with Prince. Absolutely, going back to the influences we were talking about in the conversation. Hello, Lydia. Interesting discourse on these movies. Purple Rain is still what is it? It's still all, and is it for me? Hendrix is the man, but don't put down Prince. He can do more than hold his shoes. I'm just saying.
Right. And that is not a diss against Prince,
no,
not at
far
all.
from it. No.
I'm just saying, as it comes in, and with everything that Hendrix accomplished at 27, and even when you listen to his stuff and some of the outtakes and unreleased stuff, no, I mean, Hendrix was incredible. I just don't think Prince was in the same. He was close to Hendrix's category, but
I
not.
agree.
But that does not diminish that Prince on his own was an amazing guitar player. I'm not saying he wasn't.
No, I mean, the thing about Hendrix was that this, and same with Prince and other people we had mentioned, like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye. When you transcend the music and become something else altogether, that's when you rise above the fray, because your work has become so beloved by the people is a whole different category.
Well, I think from a technical perspective, it's very interesting because Prince and Hendrix share something in that, Hendrix, we all know, is left-handed, but he never played a left-handed guitar. He played a normal right-handed guitar turned upside down. And that's how, and so he's playing a guitar upside down, which technically is all kinds of wrong. That's when Wayne Fields did give me guitar lessons once upon a time. But there is a right way and a wrong way that you play guitar, and
Right.
Jimi Hendrix played guitar the wrong way. I think a similar connect is when Prince started designing his own guitars, and he was designing the guitars that he was designing for the type of sound he wanted. People were telling him, no, you can't do that. That's going to sound all wrong. That's not the way to do it. And it wound up working out fantastically. And so, these two instances, the same people, brilliant musicians and artists in their own right, who bucked the system of what was conventionally accepted and said, I'm going to do this my way. And the results were absolutely astounding.
See, back to the comment section, Walter types, Hendrix' Purple Haze is still timeless.
And to hear Prince do Purple Haze will give you, there's one, there is, he did Purple Haze at some after show out in California once. And a friend of mine has a copy of it. I should actually ask her for it. It gives you goosebumps. It literally, because just the way he's playing guitar on it, and you can feel the homage to Hendrix in it.
Yes.
It literally gives you goosebumps.
Let's see. So go back to the peanut gallery here. Super Bowl performance was amazing. Your thoughts with Prince?
The man killed it in 4-inch heels and a rainstorm.
Oh, the rainstorm took me out. You couldn't have asked for a better situation. I mean, this when stuff like that happens, it's like this is otherworldly of what we're watching.
It was, because I remember before the Super Bowl and them saying, "Oh, it's raining. What is this going to mean? Because it's an open air stadium. What does this mean for?" And the fact that Prince not only, I think that performance actually, it was an amazing performance.
Yes, it was.
It was a legendary performance. I think it's second only to, in terms of televised stuff, second only to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance. But it also says something about Prince. It says something about Prince as an artist, that he didn't let the rain, didn't let the conditions stop him. He knew he was performed, that fans, there were some fans that were tuning in just to see him, some fans that went to the Super Bowl just to see him, and his commitment to the fans, to pleasing the crowd and giving the best performance, because no one would have blamed him by saying, oh, well, Prince just phoned it in because it was a rainstorm. No one would have blamed him for it.
True.
But instead, what he does is goes out and gives a legendary performance, and there's still ranks. And so I think that says more, as much as you can talk about the actual performance itself, I think it speaks a lot to Prince as a person and how he viewed his artistry and what he wanted to deliver to the crowds.
Let's see. So interviewer asked, was Prince engaged to Vanity and Sheila E? Sheila E said in an interview that she was engaged to Prince. Is that a true story?
Okay, so he was not engaged to Vanity. They broke up rather early. It appears that he and Sheila, off again, on again, off again, on again. If you listen to Sheila, they were engaged twice. The reason I say is, if you listen to Sheila, I'm sure they were engaged at one point, because they were obviously, when you listen to Sheila E.'s first album, no, I'm sorry, not her first album, the first album. She actually has a song called Sister Fate, which is all a thing basically like, hey, I'm not sleeping with Prince, when she was sleeping with Prince. Wow. But no, I mean, is obviously they were, that they were an item. Yes. She put in her autobiography that they were engaged, that he proposed to her while in the middle of a concert, but then got phased out. Sheila E. was marketed to be the female Prince. But that does not say Sheila E. is mad talented. She's just, I mean, she's not only she's an amazing percussionist, but I've gotten into some of her jazz stuff, the Latin jazz stuff that she's done over the last few years, and it's really good. But she's also an opportunist, and she's been milking Prince's death for the last few years.
Well, you're right about that. I went with some friends of mine. In fact, I went with Ken, his wife Claire, and our good friend Leah to Horseshoe Casino to see the Prince tour that Sheila E. and the Time were doing, and Sheila E. killed it.
Yeah,
it was great to watch her in person. Her percussionist skills are legendary through the roof, and wasn't going to see it in person. She was just going for broke. It was nice. The Time was okay. You get the time, so you get it. So
they're getting a little long in the tooth.
Exactly. I mean,
a little slower.
Jerome was 21. They got a new Jerome on stage.
Right.
I'm like, okay, when do you swap for this younger version and stuff like that? So I mean, put it like this: the overall show was good, but I think Sheila E. brought more than the Time did, and I think going back to use the word homage, as you said before about Prince to Jimi Hendrix. No taking away from the Time. The homage that I watched, it was more so Sheila E. with the homage to Prince in that situation. So it was a hell of a performance. But real quick back to the Peanut Gallery. Real quick, let me get this real quick. So what's up, Wise All? It's a good evening, gentlemen. Good that you're here. And then Lydia typed, "Love the Super Bowl performance. Yes, it was legendary, and we are all blessed to witness it." Okay, sir. Now I'll go back to you.
Well, just about Sheila E. and this another connection to Sly Stone, because I mean, really think about it. The notion, even in the 80s, of having a woman percussionist, a woman drummer was almost unheard of. I mean, Prince was always, putting women in his band on certain points. The revolution would have been nothing without Wendy and Lisa.
Correct.
I think they served as muses for him, and their impact on him cannot be understated. But with Sheila, as a woman percussionist, when we look at other, Sly Stone had a woman percussionist at one point. And they talk about that mention that in a documentary. And he decided to put, I think Prince's strongest side projects, it was Sheila E. the Time and the Family. But in terms of core talent, Sheila E. had it. And that he saw that and nurtured it. I think out of She and the Time were the most successful of his side projects, because some of the other ones, even though they were talented, didn't go as far as they should have. But to promote a woman drummer in the 80s at a time that was viewed not only, and it shouldn't just say a woman drummer, a Latin woman drummer.
Correct.
At a time when, even though she had worked with Lionel Richie and George Duke and Stevie Wonder, that was all behind the scenes and nobody really knew things. So to put her up front, I think that spoke to Prince's visionary aspect of how when you put someone up front who's talented, the talent will speak for itself. And I think that was particularly manifested with his promotion of Sheila E.
Absolutely. Lydia types new Jerome. No, really, I kid you not. Because I'm looking for, not Jimmy Jam, but they had part of the original band. Because now it's like, it wasn't the original 7 anymore. It's like bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think in the current band, it's just Morris and Jellybean, the drummer.
The drummer, yeah.
I think that's it from the original.
From the original, right. And that's about it.
7.
So
yeah.
And then again, you got 19-year-old Jerome over here with young legs and stuff like that. So I just thought it was an interesting situation.
Exactly.
So we went from your musicality, from house music to Prince, and now we phase into jazz. So you talked about jazz throughout the conversation. So when did you start to really get into jazz as an entity by itself?
So when I was at Morehouse, remember within Morehouse, the Atlanta University Center. So you have the connection of Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, which at the time was just Clark.
Okay.
Clark Atlanta had not merged at that time, and
Mhm.
Morris Brown. I wanted to, as I referenced earlier, I wanted to go into journalism, and I was interested in radio. So I had signed up to be a overnight DJ on WCLK, 92.5 in Atlanta, which was a PBS NPR station during the day, and then they played music during the night,
Got it.
and that was, but it was a jazz station, and I just wanted to learn about radio, and I just wanted to learn about broadcasting and things like that.
Mhm.
I got my FCC license and the whole 9 yards.
Right.
But because I had to play jazz, it got me into it. And my mother laughed because she was into jazz, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it." But I remember the moment. I think it was my second week I played the first track from John Coltrane's "Love Supreme," and I literally thought, "Where has this been all my life?"
I know, right?
That was. And from there, I got into stuff like not only Coltrane, but Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, but also got into Weather Report, got into Pat Metheny, got into not only jazz, but jazz fusion, Bob James, the whole thing. And, then I started realizing that I'm hearing samples, stuff that's coming out of R&B songs, stuff that was lifted from Bob James, stuff that, particularly when hip hop was first starting in the late 80s. I don't think people realize how much Bob James has been sampled. Earl Klugh is another one, Stanley Clark. Like, these were all the folks, and it just seemed a natural thing that it was a little slower progression. So it was, and I admit I would take little tapes that I made on the radio, and we used them when I went on dates with people, as kind of mood music. So I probably shouldn't be saying this considering he's listening, but but the reality was it was a different type of vibe, a more mellow vibe.
Yes.
And I had a program director at CLK. His name was Jerry. And he would explain to me Coltrane's brilliance, Miles Davis's brilliance, Lionel Hampton's brilliance, why Ella Fitzgerald, what was it about her voice? What was about Dinah Washington or Sarah Vaughan? Yeah. Like, it was almost like, honestly, it was like taking a class, because Jerry really took time to explain why jazz was important. And then I think the real moment came from the first time Jerry played Dave Brubeck's Take 5 for me. And I'm listening to it and I'm overwhelmed, and I was like, wow. I was like, that's really cool. I was like, these N-words can really play. And Jerry looked at me and held up the album. He was like, white boys can play jazz too.
Right. Oh, man.
But it was, and yeah, it's just been something that, but I see jazz. I think someone said that jazz is America's first true musical art form.
Yes.
And I completely see that, but it has, so jazz has been very, very important for me.
You and I have something similar, because my first professional job was playing jazz music.
Okay.
WBEE in Harvey.
Wow.
So my first professional gig, AM 1570, and I was on from Monday through Friday. It wasn't a union station, so at the time they had us work 6 hours. I didn't care. It was like, I was 22. I was fresh out of college. I left college, but I didn't graduate. I left college to go work professionally, and Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to midnight, and we would pick our own music.
Right.
So we had a big library of records, and we had to get there early. I got there like 4 o'clock to go through all the music library to program for 6 hours. So I get all this wonderful music. Make sure I had to dust them off. They had like little cleaner for records.
Mhm.
To clean the records with
Mhm.
everything else back in the day. Make sure it didn't skip. So I had to go through all that and had all these records and albums to go into for my show. For me, that was easy because I grew up in a household that played jazz and blues. My dad played jazz and blues all the time, mostly blues, but he was throwing some jazz every now and again. And so that was my really my training. So by the time I got to BEE at 22, I knew what I was doing. So I played this music. And over the years, Art Blakely and the Jazz Messengers for me have become like,
Okay.
I mean, they were like Greek gods to me.
Mhm.
Monin is my favorite. I think
Okay.
Monin is the quintessential Art Blakely Jazz Messengers tune. And something about the musicality, and,
I agree with that. Yeah.
they were just, I mean, Art Blakely on the drums and his, his cohorts playing, of course, and they're doing their individual cuts. I mean, it was just wonderful to hear. And so to me, it became my favorite of all time. And voice-wise, I dare anybody, any genre, to listen to Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong together. You can't, that shuts down everything.
Dude, you preaching. You preaching
And
now.
when I
Yeah.
heard that album and I used to play it cheek to cheek, any song that they did when they came together for that album, it was heaven on earth.
I think Ella Fitzgerald had one of those a timeless voice.
Yes.
And what she was able, I had a neighbor when I was young who was extolling to me when I was young the virtues of Al Jarreau, and I was a little too young to appreciate what she was telling me. But I remember her talking about how Al Jarreau used his voice as an instrument.
Correct.
And talked about that and said, there are other people. I remember her saying, when you listen to, she mentioned Ella Fitzgerald, Mel Torme, and one other person who I forget. And when you listen to Ella Fitzgerald, her voice was an instrument.
Yes.
And the way she was able to, there was I remember seeing a write-up in one of my old fraternity magazines of a impromptu we had a fraternity house over on 44th and King Drive. And we had a big open room up on the third floor. And one night, Duke Ellington was in town. Duke Ellington was a member of our fraternity, but Ella Fitzgerald was in town, and so was Dizzy Gillespie.
Oh man.
And they did an impromptu concert, in the Alpha House. And I'm just thinking, and this was like in the 1940s. And I'm just thinking, like, what would have been like just to have been a fly on the wall for something, impromptu between the three of them. So, yeah.
Man, amazing. Lydia types the following. Jazz expands the mind. Glad you talked about it. I got, what was that? My full jazz education while at Howard. She went to Howard University at WHUR. And yes, Al Jarreau and Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, they were just, again, it don't take long to recognize greatness. And so we listen to them, just use their, like you said before, use their voices as instruments. And the way they would just take a note or take a song and just obviously make it their own. And nobody could come close to that. When you're like untouchable like that, again, it's just amazing work. Again, when I got to WBEE in the early 90s, they were just installing CD players.
Oh, wow.
Radio station.
Okay.
At the time. That's how, in its infancy, because everybody used, of course, records and carts like that back in the day, and they did too. They were just installing CD players to put into the system so you could run it through the board. And again, all these great voices. At one point, they wanted to throw in blues like 4 songs an hour. So I had to throw in and start playing blues within the repertoire of the music I was playing. Still heavy jazz, but he wanted to put in more blues. And I had the honor of having on my show every Monday to promote a certain nightclub in Harvey, Chuck Barksdale.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
So Chuck Barstow,
Mhm.
oh my God! I mean, just the fact that I had him on, a great gentleman, great to be with, a hell of a sense of humor.
Right.
Which I did not know until I met the gentleman. Until we had a conversation over the phone, having him. I got to meet him in person. He was supposed to come in to the radio station in person, but something, I think, an emergency situation happened, and he couldn't make it. But Chuck Barstow of the Dells was on my show for a good 5 months. And that
Okay.
was some of the best radio I ever
Oh, I
did in
can
my
imagine.
infancy, to
Yeah.
talk to that man and then to go on from there. But jazz has always been a part of my life, and I remember just music in general for all of us. I remember my dad, once again, loved blues, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, and of course, B.B. King's signature song, "The Thriller's Gone."
Mhm. Mhm.
And I remember listening to it because it didn't speak to me as a kid, because it wasn't supposed to speak to me, because it's supposed to speak to you when it does. So I'm in my 30s. I'm driving down Lakeshore Drive going home. I'm channel surfing. I hear from the beginning all the way to the end, "The Thriller's Gone." I started crying. Because at 30, or between I was like 34, 35,
Mhm.
you live life now and you
Yes.
had experiences. So
Yes.
now it speaks to you.
Right.
Now it's
Right.
preaching gospel. So I couldn't take no more,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was like, everything that man said, I went through it.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's amazing how music speaks to you again,
And
no matter
that's
how
the
old you
beauty,
are.
and that's the beauty of music. That
Mhm.
is what, and I think what certain elements of jazz is able to do is it's able, I mean, it's funny you mentioned the blues. I mean, I always say, you mentioned BB King. My father and BB King could have been twins. Like,
Gotcha.
they look so much alike.
Mhm.
I got the pleasure once of seeing them in the same room together, and I was joking
Oh
with
man,
my
that had to be
dad.
great.
Yeah, down at BB King's club in Memphis,
Mhm.
and um, so I've always identified BB King with my dad, but I think whether it's the blues and jazz, in particular, I think that type of music was designed to hit us on beyond the surface level.
Mhm.
When I listen to whether it is um, Miles Davis's uh, when I listen to anything from Miles Davis or Coltrane or Lionel Hampton, um, it doesn't feel to me that some of these, and not just the greats, but that jazz, particularly from the era of the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, was not meant to be done casually. And because we all know that they didn't get rich,
Right.
that it was truly a labor of love for them, and I think that is how the music is meant to be experienced, is that we're supposed to take it on a deeper level. And I think that's what my old manager from Atlanta was trying to get across to me about what the benefit of jazz is that it's something that you really digest.
I remember reading articles about Miles Davis, and when he was when Coltrane was with him, John Coltrane
Mhm.
was with him, and how, of course, it was Miles Davis's routine. It was a set. So there were times when he would cut off Coltrane,
Right.
interrupt him, and so they were tales that Coltrane had so much in him, he had to go out in the parking lot or out in the alley and blow the rest of it out.
That's about right.
So again, that showed you about how much he had to give.
And it's, I remember someone asked me, there was this one discussion on Facebook a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
If you had to choose one song to introduce someone to jazz, what would that song be? And I started thinking, and for me, I think it would be so what. Miles Davis is So
Miles
What,
Davis.
which Coltrane is on that,
Yes.
and because for me that there are so many elements in that song and so many layers between trumpet, Davis's trumpet, Coltrane's sax. I believe Les Montgomery is on that track as well. It's just so much in that one song that it really tells the story of jazz
Yeah.
in 7 or 8 minutes, and it's really one of those things I think is a good. Now, but let me ask you a question. You mentioned a thing about your dad and blues, and I wonder if you had a similar issue, because I remember with me and my dad, we used to watch Sanford and Son together all the time. That was
Right.
our thing. And anytime any of those blues greats came on, Sanford and Son, it was pay attention. If it was, B.B. King, or remember it was Lena Horne came on
Yeah.
once, and a couple of
Della
did you
Reese.
Della Reese is another. Did you have experiences like that with your dad, like where he would point out certain things, certain people, for you to pay attention to?
No, my dad would get drunk. So
Okay.
he would get drunk and drink, and he would get that scotch and some J&B and go to town. Now, while he's drinking, he wants me to come with him, sit down, and listen to the
Mhm.
music. So that was our bonding time. And I'm trying to
Gotcha.
listen to everything. I got to go to school the next day, whatever the day
Mhm.
was. But that's what we bonded at. And so we would sit down, and he would tell me the musicality of why this works and how beautiful it is and things like that. And I'm trying to listen, but again, sometimes speak to me, but the majority of the time it did not. So I'm trying to connect with my dad on this thing. But and of course, like most children, we were the original remote controls, and of
Yes.
course,
Yes, we
take the
were.
arm of the needle and start all over again before
Mhm.
it was electronic. So I was that guy. So Chris, come and come and flip this over and start that, or put the penny on the arm of
Oh
the
my
needle,
goodness.
so it can
Oh,
stay
there you
balanced and stuff
go.
like that. Yeah, Doc. So I was that guy. But yeah, we bonded over that. But over, I just realized that these songs had great storylines to it,
Yes.
and it took you through an emotional tour of what the song was going to go through from the beginning, middle, and end. And then when you took the ride, you want to take it again.
Right.
It was the same song or a different song because the artist can take you there. And
Right.
so with my dad, I'll tell the story real quick. So once again, my dad loved BB King, Bobby Blue Band. So my dad used to be the manager for Early Funeral Home on
Oh, okay.
79th in Cottage Grove.
Mhm.
And so early Mr. Leak Sr. wanted them to go to Memphis to do an interment for one of his best friends.
Mhm.
So they drove down to Memphis to take care of a burial for Mr. Leak's best friend. Now, they're down there. Now the rumbling is that BB King, Bobby Blue Bland, going to appear at this nightclub is only a rumor. So after the interment, after they do their job, my dad and his co-workers find the nightclub, and they actually showed up. So my dad's getting drunk with the co-workers. They're sitting up front he's enjoying everything. My dad was singing the songs right along with him. They invited him on stage.
Oh, wow.
And he does like 4 or 5 sets with them, word for word, note for note.
Mm.
And so Mr. Kenny, who was my dad's best friend, who worked with my dad, he's telling me the story. I was like, Dad, why didn't you tell me this all happened? I want to talk about it right now. Oh, come on, Dad, tell me what happened. I can't. Why not? I got so drunk I forgot. So I know he was pissed because
Right.
his heroes could not remember not one iota of what happened. So,
wow.
But that's why he loved it so much. In fact, I think when he got back home to Chicago, he wanted to hear them more based upon what he had heard that he had went through. So when the music touches you like that and you get a chance to meet the people, and not everybody's going to be cool, but when you meet the people, actually cool people, and once again, his situation, invited him on stage. So imagine back in the 70s and 80s, we had technology like with our phones and
Right,
stuff.
with our phones,
like
you
that.
could record
That's still
that.
be legendary. But he loved blues, man, and BB King was one of his favorites. One of Bobby Blue Band, Joe Williams, another one of his favorites that he liked a lot. Jimmy Witherspoon, go on, and there's something about again that connectability, that connective tissue that we have, particularly as Black folk, to our music, and it means a lot because there's soul. And that soul speaks to our soul in general.
Absolutely. And I think it's, I remember once going on a date with a woman. It was the first date, and we were doing the getting to know you thing, and she actually said she didn't like music.
Hmm.
And I was like, you don't like any music? She's like, no, I just like to read and watch TV. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't like music? And
That's
she didn't
great.
like music. She didn't like to dance, blah, blah.
Okay.
She's like, well, it all sounds like noise. And she was a beautiful woman. And otherwise, she was intelligent and what have you.
Right.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I'm like, as wonderful as she was, like, here's
Right.
someone who say you don't like music. Like, I don't know how to, and I can deal with like my current girlfriend. She's
Mhm.
a big Broadway musical fan.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
I can't rock with that. There's certain things I can rock with every now and then, but
I
overall,
don't blame you.
no. She's not a jazz fan.
Not at all.
I've introduced her to a couple of things, but
Mhm.
there are other areas of intersection that, she has some Prince songs she likes. I like some Cure songs and,
Mhm.
some things like that. But,
Yeah.
you still have some of that connectivity, even if you don't like all of the same music. But the thought of someone not liking music at all, I just
That's
can't.
inconceivable.
I just can't. I just can't imagine it.
I don't blame you on that one, Doc. You dodged the bullet on that one.
I think I
Lorenzo,
did.
yeah, I think you did too. Lorenzo, having been a musician in Chicago, I got a close up look at several muscles and composers from Chicago, the recording studios and sessions that people never got a chance to witness, the Peps, the Parkway Ballroom, Rumble, Buggy, etc. He mentioned about Lorenzo about music shit. So then, so I grew up with jazz in my house too. West Montgomery, with Thelonious Monk, Diane Washington, Dinah Washington, John Coltrane, Sarah Vaughan, and Johnny Mathis. So you can't go wrong with that lineup.
Oh no, absolutely.
Let's see. So Lorenzo typed Canada. Let's say Herb Adderley, Coleman Hawkins, Ahmad Jamal,
Jamal, yes, sir.
Slim Galib, Dinah Washington, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, etc. See, those type of names are legendary. And when you look at, once again, I wish that they had the opportunity to make money. They should have. They should have been
Absolutely.
beyond millionaires. It pains me. Years ago, watched a documentary about Nat King Cole
Mm-hmm.
and how Nat King, his genius and stuff like that. Coming from
Yes.
Chicago, went to Wendell Phillips, for example,
Yep.
same high school my mom went to, and Marla Gibbs, and his talent. He had that talk show on, not talk show, new variety show.
And the first black man to have a variety show. Yes.
Yeah, and was not allowed to get close to white co-stars.
Right.
He wasn't allowed to kiss white women who appear on the show. They can sing together, have a little space between them, but don't get too close and don't kiss.
Right.
And then it was, I saw copies of the show. It was an excellent show, very well produced.
Mm-hmm.
Nat King Cole was a hell of a front liner.
He was amazing. And that was a time where those artists were not properly compensated for their art. A lot of them were ripped off. That's why, famously and legendarily, Aretha Franklin demanded, her payment up front in cash.
That's right.
And she would put it in her purse and walk on stage.
Purse. Right.
Right. It was, when you look at, unfortunately, a lot of these artists, they make money in death. You look at what the Coltrane estate brings in. Look at what Miles Davis. Miles Davis is probably a little better off than a lot of the others. Yeah. But there is a new documentary that's coming out in September. I believe it's going to be on Netflix on John Coltrane.
Looking forward to it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think they're looking at it from the aspect of his influence religiously. Because remember, he was beatified by one Christian denomination, so technically he is Saint John Coltrane. But I think But I think, with the mentioning of of all the different places, the one thing I've learned through my fraternity research is how prevalent it was for some of these early musicians. Um, Not only Duke Ellington, UB Blake, all of these, to just get together. Hey, what you doing? Oh, nothing. Well, come meet me over here, and we'll just jam. And they wound up doing, a full out concert for
Yes.
4 or 5 hours. And it's that image that one of the things, just to tie things to go back together,
Mhm.
it's what Prince used to do. That's what some other folks would who just love to play. Stevie Wonder would do things like that. Quincy Jones would assemble people. But then, if you also really want to tie it in, if you think about what we do in house music, that we'll go and we'll party 6-7 hours
That's right.
just with that strain, that whole thing of that vibe of the music. And I just see that all of these elements, permeating through all of these aspects, because that was a staple of jazz. And
Yes.
just to be able to sit up and just listen to somebody randomly play, just not trying to make any money, just
Yeah.
people trying to jam. Like I would love to have been around, during those days at the Parkway Ballroom, or the Savoy Ballroom, or the Regal Theater, or any of those places. I would have loved to have been there.
Back to the comment section, my man. How you doing, Pastor? Pastor Donovan Price says, nice combo. Pastor Price joins me every Friday, second hour of Baseline. What he does in the street, man, I swear to God, that has to be, again, forged by a higher power to help people to be there when you have all these horrid tragedies on the street, people getting shot and killed, and
Yeah,
being there to
absolutely.
administer healing. That's my man, Donovan. So thank you for checking in, Donovan. I'll definitely have you on the show as always, coming up on Baseline. And so again, and Donovan and I talked about music and how it heals and how it's able to, again, administer peace among people. And I remember we talked about, usually had this tradition every Easter, we talk about movies and songs that deal with God and Jesus,
Hmm.
and there was rock songs like "Jesus All Right with Me," and
Hmm.
songs like that, "Spirit in the Sky," for
Right.
example. So you always have these connect to spirit and to the Lord. I think maybe people want to talk about that, but again, you write what you write, you feel how
Hmm.
you feel, and I know people, some maybe be agnostic, whatever, but that's where the gift comes from. So why not give praise towards it?
When I was doing active ministry, I mean, I had a group of songs that I always listened to when I was writing sermons.
Hmm.
I mean, and uh, Love Supreme, John Coltrane was one of them. Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" was another one I would listen to. I had a couple of Stevie Wonder albums, but using that music as an inspiration. And sometimes, if I wanted to be a little political, if I want to be a little militant, like,
Hmm.
I could use different things. But one of the things is that at the end of the day, it brought me peace. It
Yes.
brought me that peace in, I wasn't worried. It put me in the right frame of mind. And whether it be jazz or R&B or whatever it was, like, that was to me, that's the purpose of music. Like,
Hmm.
even stuff, that I got a lot of friends who are into headbanging heavy metal
Yeah.
music, which I don't necessarily understand, but but to them, they get some of the same stuff out of that
Oh
that I
yeah.
get out of from the music I listen to.
Right.
And so, we know it's all subjective, but as long as you're getting out of it what you need,
Right.
that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And I think with the genres we've talked about, and I think with jazz, I think there are certain times where it's just, sometimes I have a joke, say with a couple of friends, is
Mhm.
some jazz is too beautiful to listen to. Like, you just can't believe somebody created something this, and the song that immediately comes to mind is Lonnie Liston Smith. He has a song called Quiet Moments. And to me, I think that's just one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. And I can't fathom being able to create something that beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those.
Let's see. This person is known to you. That
Yes,
Palmer.
actually, it's very interesting because that's what I was thinking about when I mentioned the headbanging music. But she is
Okay.
so it's nice that she is listening for once. No, in all seriousness, Jessie is one of my dearest friends. But no, I mean, it is a perfect example when she and I have a little bit of different taste in music at times, but we get the same things out of it.
This has been beyond great, and
absolutely.
We're staying overtime. I got one last question for you
before
you take off.
Sure.
If you can invite 4 people to dinner, alive or not, who would they be and why?
I think the first person will be my grandmother, who was the most important person in my life, hands down. My mother hates it when I say that, but this nevertheless is the truth. I think it would be Malcolm X would be one. James Cone, the author and the theologian. He wrote the seminal book, Black Theology of Liberation, which impacted my ministry and my thoughts on spirituality. And it would be Prince. I would love to. I got to be in Prince's presence a couple of times. So I know what it's like to be in the presence of genius, but all of those people, my grandmother included, they were genius in their own right, and would love to facilitate a conversation between all of them.
Man, this has been again a nice ride.
This has been great, man.
To go through the process. When you talked about from house music to Prince to jazz, to cover all those genres, how they all intertwine together, it's something beyond great. Chuck Smoot, thank you for your time. More information about you and who you are. Where can people find you at, sir?
So right now, the best place to find me, I happen to serve as the co-campaign manager for the Eric France for Congress. He's running for Congress 2nd Congressional District. So you can find out, contact me, franceforcongress.com, and get more information. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Chuck Smoot. Very simple. And those are the best ways to find me.
Man, I gotta have you back on. Not just Hollywood.
Absolutely.
No, really. You know how real I am, man.
Absolutely.
I knew you were gonna nail it. I had a great feeling about it because, again, you're the real deal, Holyfield, and it's nice to know that, again, the knowledge you bring does help us all, and to commiserate and remember. I said, this was excellent. Thanks for the invite. Okay, thank you. Not a problem. Not a problem.
So yeah, this has been great, my brother. And yeah, we will have to do it again. And anything I can ever help you with at any time, please let me know. As I said to Diane the other day, my lot in life lately has been supporting Broncos.
That must sting. You being a Dolphin and everything else.
It hurts my Dolphin hearts at times, but but that seems to be. But you know what? All of y'all are good people, so I enjoy it, and couldn't be a better group of people to help out. Mostly, except for Scott Stewart, he don't count.
Except no. Oh man, this has been wonderful. Do me a favor, hang on the zone. I want to talk to you off the air real quick.
Absolutely,
thank you so much.
Thank you again.
The great Chuck Smoot joins us, and again, thank him again for staying overtime. Because usually the show is by an hour, but we were just into the whole thing about really the magic of music. and how it is and what it is and how it touches all of us and continues to do so is woven into the fabric of our lives. Once again, thank you, Chuck, for coming on board. And again, anytime you want to come on board and talk, you have a free platform to do it from. So once again, thank you for who you are. And for those of you out there who continue to follow me, Baseline will be in full effect this Friday. Do it every Friday. Catch me at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. also Pacific time. Also broadcasted on Real Wise Radio, simulcasted through there as well. So thank you again for supporting what I do, what we all do, because we all need each other, especially these days. I'm telling you. So make sure you go tell a friend, go tell 5 of your friends and 18 of your enemies that CBI and Baseline continues to be in the air. Continue to be safe, continue to be sound, continue to be healthy, and most importantly, above anything else, continue to be loved. Long live the peace, long live the funk, more power to you. And I'll see you on Friday. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll see you then. Take care. Most importantly, above anything else above that, always keep your head up.